Good afternoon. It's Robert and Julia Miller with RETHINK Real Estate with another exciting real estate update.
Exciting and thrilling.
Happy fall.
Happy fall. Yeah, a little bit. It's still been a little over 100 degrees.
What is it today?
Here in Arizona. It was 102 earlier. I'm imagining we inched up a little above that.
Come on.
So yes, we're anticipating fall. The evenings are better. The mornings are great in the 70s, so that's nice.
Yep, it's coming.
Yes, it's coming. We know it's coming. What will this episode be about, Robert?
Well, we're going to review the Cromford report, which we attended yesterday. It was quite interesting. Tina did a little history episode, so it was kind of cool to
really
look
good,
back in time, and we're going to incorporate you a little bit into this too for next week. So we'll talk about that when we get there. We'll start out with a little humor. We're going to do some history this week and years past, touch on the news. We'll get into the Cromford report. We'll review rates, and we will wrap it up with inventory.
That's our typical program format. So hopefully you like what you see and you come back next week or the week after for more. We will look at the question, as Robert alluded to, what is your recession story?
Yes.
And we'll kind of look at recessions from generation to generation, how many recessions per generation, how the unemployment rates and things like that. So we'll go over that.
Interest rate. She looks at what the interest rate is.
So, and then the other question to address in the comments below and kind of get the conversation going as a community is to disclose what's your highest mortgage rate you were ever under.
You ever paid?
You ever paid? Okay. Yes. And we'll share ours too in the time coming. So.
Okay, you got a little humor for us?
Joke of the day. So, why did the Scarecrow win a prize?
Why did the Scarecrow win a prize?
Because he was outstanding in his field.
That's a good one.
Again, thank you, Stephanie, for giving us that dad joke book.
Yeah, no kidding. You're getting a lot of mileage out of it.
A lot of mileage.
Okay.
Carry on.
All right. The Flat Earth Society has members all around the globe. Now you need to go to your dad joke book for that one.
I guess not. It should be in the book.
Yeah. All right, moving on to a little history. Almost jumped straight into the news. All right, looking back in history this week, 1994 on October 12th, the Magellan probe completes a 4-year project mapping Venus. Venus is cool, but I wonder if they've done it for Saturn. That is just the coolest planet, you know.
It is the coolest planet.
Rings and all.
You know what's more cool than that? Pluto.
Moving on. 1983, the first U.S. cellular network launches October 12th in Chicago.
Yeah.
1975, the first episode of Saturday Night Live airs October 11th with host George Carlin.
Yes.
They couldn't have picked a better guy to host Saturday Night Live. That's awesome.
Funny guy.
All right, 1913, the Pacific and Atlantic meet October 10th during construction of the Panama Canal.
Well, happy birthday, Panama Canal.
We'd like to cruise there at some point.
It's a bucket list item here in the near future to cross the Panama Canal from, I think we've decided we want to go Atlantic to Pacific, but whichever way.
And if you ever want to read a great book about that called The Path Between the Seas by David McCullough.
Yeah,
outstanding.
Good historical novel, really.
No, it's a history, nonfiction history, but it's just very, very well written.
Yeah.
So. Okay, finally, 1492, Christopher Columbus reaches the New World on October 12th in the Bahamas.
And that's why we celebrate Columbus Day or Indigenous People Day.
That's right. He got off the boat and said, "Am I in the Indies?"
Yeah, yeah. He thought he was in No,
No,
you're not.
you're not. But congratulations for discovering the new world.
You're right.
All right, let's move on to a little bit of news. The bond market and boy. Okay, rates rise sharply. No surprise there.
Right.
The 30-year fixed mortgage rate reached its highest level since 2000. That's 24 years.
24 years. Well, 23.
Going on 24.
Anyway.
Last week, driven by the climbing 10-year Treasury yield. So, just to get your head around that, for a $400,000 home with 20% down, payments today are $930 higher
Wow.
than during the pandemic.
That's an entire full paycheck for some people.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a
Oh my
lot of
goodness.
money for the same. All right, job openings provide jolt. Kind of a spin on word.
Jolt?
Yeah. Last week's job openings and labor turnover survey.
Okay.
Jolts. That's what that's.
Oh, okay.
Jolts,
Got
right?
it. Got it. It's an acronym.
Yeah. You normally don't miss acronyms.
Wow.
Yeah. Show job openings rose unexpectedly from 8.92 million to 9.6 million. The Federal Reserve skipped a September interest rate hike, but said its rates remain data dependent. Continued strong jobs numbers could be just the jolt needed to not raise rates. I assume that's what they're saying. All right, moving on before this gets totally out of control. Rising yields have yields shake markets. The Dow turned negative for the first time this year, for the year, in other words. And the S&P fell, but NASDAQ 100 held steady. But overall, the market is not doing well at all.
It's not a good time to invest in the market.
Housing news, 1996 again, mortgage applications have dropped to the lowest level in 27 years.
Wow.
With a significant 6% decline for the week ending September 29th. And again, that's pretty obvious. You're going to have less mortgage applications when the rate keeps going up. And you have this bond issue that was attacking everything last week, so that's going to make it even worse. So that's human touch limits home loan AI. Human touch remains essential in the mortgage industry, and I would say in the real estate market, it's the same thing. You just,
Absolutely.
I'm not against automation. I love making the mundane non-essential, and you're able to automate it. That's great, but it still remains a face-to-face, eyeball-to-eyeball business.
Yeah.
You know,
it definitely is. There's anytime that you're dealing with human beings, there are a lot of idiosyncrasies. There are a lot of special parts of people's story. Speaking from the mortgage standpoint, you know, their income, it's not always cut and dry. You know, their assets, not always cut and dry. So, you know, you've got to have that human thought behind it instead of an AI application to say yes and no, yes and no.
I would add that, you know, we are pretty heavy into, for transparency and trying to keep our personal opinions out of what we cover here. We are very black and white when we look directly at the numbers that the statisticians come up with, and that's kind of what we use as our guide. But everybody looks at things differently, even the black and white.
Yes.
You know, so even that becomes a gray area. So more, that's just another point where it's better if you are able to talk one-on-one and you know, hear each other out. And,
Right.
You know, so regulatory news.
Yes.
End of inflation. Fed officials last week said rising Treasury yields may make more interest rate hikes unnecessary, as data already show a soft landing for the economy. So there you go.
There you go.
August inflation was just 3.5%, while employment remains steady, and and it's actually, we have more jobs than we thought, so
Right.
that's even better.
Okay.
This is what application rejections.
Rejections.
And again,
Mortgage applications?
you always have to look back at the mortgage piece when you look at the crash
Right.
in 08.
Absolutely. That was
And
a big part of the crash, if not the full part of the
exactly. And you have to take that into account if you're predicting we're going to have another crash.
Some people
Okay.
are predicting that.
Because that was such
They are.
a key piece of that. And if you predict there's a crash coming without looking at the strength of the mortgages that are out there, you just can't do that.
Right, right.
It doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. So
Just about every episode we talk about the crash, because a lot of YouTubers want it's clickbait. The crash is coming, we're heading for, the smart market crash of 2023. No.
it's not just the YouTubers. I mean, we're going to cover some of Tina's information,
Some
and she's
very-
talking about,
Very prominent names in media and
Kay Schiller, Goldman Sachs.
Economy.
We're going to talk about that. So
right. Okay.
anyway,
We're gonna-
application rejections.
Yes, let's
Mortgage
tell us more.
application rejections rose to 24.7% in 2022,
Okay.
up from 14.2% in 2021.
That's almost a quarter of all applications are being rejected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lenders, and this is what was not happening back in 08, or I should say crashed then, but it was happening in 06, 07.
Yeah, 07.
Lenders are focused heavily on income as well as debt to income ratio,
Right.
which should ideally be below 40%, and credit scores are vital. You remember you could have a 525 and you could get a mortgage back in 06.
Oh man. Whew.
You could get two of them.
And not have to have a job either.
Yeah, and we won't talk about the job piece of it. All right, so that's
Okay.
your regulatory news. Let's move on. All right, moving on. So yes,
Special update on the Cromford report.
the Cromford report, and Tina did cover Phoenix past and present. So it
That's
was
the name of the site. I was looking for it.
Yes, yeah, I forgot.
I
I
totally
wrote it down.
asked. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, so we try to look, the best you can do is looking at the monthly average. That's kind of what the Cromford report does exclusively. Kay
The monthly
Schiller,
average in sales or
in everything.
in everything?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's going to be your most recent, most up-to-date. Kay Schiller is a 3-month moving average, and they publish it 2 months later. So it's really
Yes.
5 months
It's
behind.
very confusing. Be very careful when you read, these statistics that are coming out through the Kay Schiller index.
Right. I mean, it's good information. It's solid. It's just dated.
Yes.
So, okay. Median sales price for October 23 was $449,450.
Ooh.
That's up 1.8% year over year. So we now have positive appreciation.
Yeah.
So now again, this reflects contracts from 4 to 6 weeks ago.
Right.
But
It's been a dry summer, y'all.
but I think it's still good information.
Yeah, but pricing has remained steady over the 4 to 6 weeks.
And that's what I mean.
So,
I don't see anything major. I
Yeah.
mean, we're gonna see pressure, but it's not gonna be enough to make a significant change to that positive appreciation.
No.
So the question becomes: are we seeing the beginning of an upward appreciation trend?
Ah.
Well,
Well, we kind of are. Yeah, 1.8 is
Right.
upward.
Tina's guess is that we're going to be at 5% by the end of the year,
Okay.
which would be pretty average. what we
That's
like to
that's
see.
very average.
So 5% would
That's
be
nice.
awesome.
Yeah.
And the good news, this number slightly beats inflation.
Ah.
All right, so here's again a prediction. Goldman Sachs,
Goldman Sachs.
January of 2023, predicted a 2008 type crash.
It was last January. They were talking, they said, watch out for this crash.
Okay, then they made an announcement in August of 2023 that they're reversing that prediction
They said,
and that we're going to have positive appreciation. So take what you read with a grain of salt.
Yes. And their
Including here.
predictions, yeah, their predictions, that's all we're all really doing. It's
Right.
just, what are your predictions based on? And that's what we want you, the viewers and readers of these articles and videos, to ask why and how.
You have this this chart, right? The 5% running yearly chart.
No.
Okay, well, I'll just explain it then. Basically what she did something clever here. She went back to 2001 and just charted 5% appreciation every year. So it's going to be a nice straight upward curve, pretty easy to measure. And then she overlaid what actually happened. And of course it was like an irregular heartbeat all the way up. But the interesting thing is, by the year 2024, they're going to be perfectly together, and we're actually going to have, they're going to meet at 5%. So for 2001 to 2024,
Appreciation?
the actual appreciation is going to end up being 5%. So real estate's, for the long haul, a good
pretty
investment.
Stable investment still. Yeah,
5%.
You're going to have some ups and downs.
Yeah.
We have a form for it here in Arizona. The market conditions advisory.
Oh, right,
Lost it for a moment.
right.
And it did come out of the crash, but it basically says, hey,
It's cyclical.
real estate is cyclical. Your values are cyclical, which means sometimes they will cycle in and out, up and down. But
Be
overall,
aware. Be
you're
aware.
at 5%.
There's no guarantee what your appreciation's going to be.
Right.
Ironically, since 2016, income is also averaging 5% increase every year. So the average income, we're just coming up on $100,000 a year, is just enough to buy a median priced home. So if you put the numbers in at a maximum square footage of 2,500,
2,500, yep.
a $400,000 home with a 7.81% mortgage, you just have enough to cover that mortgage payment.
Wow.
So
Wow.
she had the mortgage rate at 7.81.
Yeah.
I got it a little bit lower from Melissa with Bay Equity. So I'll go over that in a little bit. Demand is not recovering very well right now. So
we need you buyers to get back in the market.
Yeah. Some of the other notes. No one knows if we are in or will be in a recession. 38% of the Fed Reserve says it's a soft landing.
It's a soft landing.
So you get it from both sides. So we really don't know.
Right.
One thing that is creating what they call the cloud of uncertainty is the Fed bonds that we've talked about. The 10-year Treasury keeps rising, and when the 2-year and the 10-year get too close together, that's when things get worrisome by the Fed. So
we talked about that a little last week. The inverted bond yield, I think, the inversion yield, or inverted yield. Anyway, it's exactly that. It's just you can get more out of the 2-year than you can out of the 10-year now.
Almost.
And
they're
really
getting
close.
too close. Yeah,
so it's like, why would I invest in
no
a
value
longer
in a
term
10-year
value
bond,
when I can just
right.
do the 2-year and I get a better value out of it? So
now, one thing to note historically, in a recession, mortgage rates usually come down.
yes.
Okay. Closer to home, new Phoenix jobs for fiscal year 2023. 37 companies have come to the Valley.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit. It created 7,731 jobs at an average pay of $72,443.
Yeah.
So they're not just bringing a bunch of fast food restaurants to town. Okay, owner occupied. We are back up to 75%. So investors that were eating a big chunk of that are basically gone. Their number of sales are way down.
Yep. And a lot of those owner occupieds have owned for 2 years or longer.
Right.
It may even be up to 3 years or longer now.
It's a good thing. Okay, so we've talked in the past about the Cromford Market Index, where 100 is perfectly balanced. So if you're under 100, it's a buyer's market, and if you're over 100, it's a seller's market. Okay.
Right.
So supply is up, and I concur with those numbers when I go over our inventory. You're going to see the same thing a little closer to home. It correlates to valley-wide. Supply is up about 3.9 points. Demand is down 1.9 points. So that's shifting us a little more towards a buyer's market. So our last report, we were at an index of 154. We're now down to 139, and we even have this is going to be a little less upward pressure on home prices for the next 3 to 6 months. So for the balance of the year and into next year.
So if you've been waiting to buy, now might be the time for you.
Goodyear and Maricopa. These are areas where the index is at 90. So we're almost in a buyer's market there. And Maricopa's got the 202 getting built around it. Once that gets completed, that is really going to be a boost for home prices. So if you're looking for a bargain that you can sit on for a few years and then make a very nice profit, Maricopa might be one of the areas you want to look into.
Or Goodyear, yeah.
Or Goodyear, yeah, Goodyear too. Okay.
Goodyear's got a lot of infrastructure coming as well. I mean, they're good, but it's a little far off the 10 in some cases, depending on what part of Goodyear you're talking about. So,
yeah.
And the 10 is still under lots of repair. Please carry on.
Okay, contract ratio. Tina just reminded us Q4 is the best time to buy. Historically, you can look past year after year after year, and it's Q4 is usually your best time. But you will sell a property in any market with patience and a realistic list price.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. Another thing.
She was talking about that versus, so if you're thinking about putting your home on the market now versus waiting for the first of the year, which we get questions every single week. Should I put it on now or should I wait for the first of the year? We're always going to tell you put it on now. Just have a little more patience. You're going to add about 1 to 2 more weeks worth of time in selling.
On average.
And that's just because the holidays, people come and go out of town for the holidays. So that's all it is. That's all it is.
Yeah. So one tip also that she gave us is don't overprice going into Q4 because statistically
it'll be longer.
the first week is when we look at the ratio of list price versus sold price, and for those that were actually earning over list price, it was in the first week. Okay, that's when the most of the over list price happened. After 3 weeks, 80% of the homes sold for less than list price.
Okay.
So don't take the old adage, well, let's just price it high and see what happens. We can always lower the price later. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Price it right, correctly from the beginning.
And you can't always trust Zillow. Sorry, Zillow. You can't always trust these algorithms. That's really all they are, is algorithms. You're going to need, like Robert said when we were talking about the mortgage industry and going to full AI, you can't do that. It's not always an algorithm that helps you through these things. It's a human being, a realtor, that helps walk through the house and say, well, here's what the comps say. However, none of these comps had what your home has, or maybe some of them had more than what your home has. So, it's putting that kind of thought in process.
All right, let's have a little fun here.
Okay.
We're going to go back in time. We're going to start with boomers. So in their adult life, say the 70s to the mid 80s of home buying and effect by the economy, they went through 4 recessions.
Ooh.
11% unemployment.
Wow.
We're complaining now. Boy, oh boy, 11%.
Yeah.
And 18% mortgage rate. That's
I
crazy.
cannot even imagine.
Just to
I
get your
cannot
head
even
around that. Okay, so I think the average home price, $80,000. The mortgage payment at that 18%, $1,400 a month.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Wow. Okay, Gen Xers, you went through 3 recessions. You dealt with some pretty high interest rates, not as high as the boomers, but 12%. But you also saw as low as 5%.
Yes.
Gen Y, you went through 3 recessions yourself. Interest rates, a much tighter range, 6.7% all the way down to 2.7%. And it's been 14 years since we had a normal recession. By normal, we mean a non-COVID or non-pandemic recession.
So these people aren't going to remember. These are
No, they remember the COVID.
The
though.
Gen Y is millennials, yeah. So they've got the COVID furloughs and things like that they're recalling.
Right.
Well, when we're in trouble like this, the government helps us out. So
That's
this is
Gen
that.
Zers. They only have experienced the COVID recession, and during that time, they were given money to get by. So that's kind of what they know. That's the only recession, and again, very tight on their interest rates, 2.7% to 7.5%. So
the Gen Zers are 11 to 26 years old today. Yeah.
okay, so this is where you guys come in. Tell us what you did if you are a boomer and lived through that 18% interest rate. How did you get into a house?
Right.
How did you do it? There was a lot of creative ways of doing it that we heard.
Right. What's your recession story? I liked it put
What's your
that
recession
way because
story? Yeah.
we got through it, right? We got through those recessions. We got through those times of unemployment. We went, oh, well, I guess, this line of employment's over. I have to go find a new job,
Yeah.
And that's what we've done through recessions. So we've got to teach our millennials, our Generation Ys and our Generation Zs, it's not the end of the world, and we're not going to sit home in our jammies and wait for that check to come from the government. Put it bluntly, but we're gonna gird up our loins and we're gonna go out and work.
Some of the examples: in-law gift for the down payment, 4 singles going in together, buying a 4-bedroom home all together. Second jobs, they talked about moonlighting. There was some creative financing that people were bringing up. So tell us your story. Let us know if you went through this and you recall how you managed to get a home with an 18% interest rate.
And what was your highest interest rate? I think ours was, what did we decide ours was? 12?
I think it was in the 12s.
It was in the 12.
Yeah, I think we had a 12%.
It was late 90s.
Yeah.
So it was my first home. Was it your first home?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So both of our first homes, and it was high. And that was even a family member house that we were buying. It was Robert's dad's house that we were buying.
Right.
So it was what it was at that point. We both had good, stable jobs, so it just was what it was.
It was normal.
I liked what she said as far as that goes. You're not marrying it. You're marrying the house. You're dating the interest rate.
Right.
The interest rate can come and go. But you're marrying the house. You have to fall in love with the house.
Good point.
And you have a longer relationship with the house than you probably will, hopefully, especially with the interest rates right now, right?
Yeah. All right, speaking of rates, last session we were at 7.51 on a 30-year fixed. We're now at 7.62, so it's ticked up. 15-year was at 6.80, it's now at 7, and the VA was at 6.96, and it's now at 7.12. Moving on to inventory, as we alluded to earlier, inventory is climbing a little bit.
Growing, yeah, look at that.
Part of that is seasonal, but part of it is because of the interest rate.
It's not a huge growth, but it's a growth. That's good. It's more of a relief than anything.
Right. Well, it's downward pressure, though, you know, on pricing. So we have to be aware of that. Okay, Valley-wide, we were at 12,854. We're now at 13,731. Peoria, 377 last session. We're at 426 now. That's ticked up quite a bit. And Surprise, 673. They're now at 738. So they both ticked up about 60. A little closer to home. Trilogy at Estancia is up 6, 7. Price range 475,000 to 1,195,000. So that comes in at a cost per square foot of $347.
Okay.
Estancia Village is actually down 4. Okay, that's an anomaly compared to everything else.
New builds.
It could be new builds coming off. I don't know. Anyway, price range 475,000, 910 tops the list. Cost per square foot $270. Blackstone Country Club added 2. 895,000 to 3,200,000 is the range. Their cost per square foot $473. That'll be the high for the list. Cortabella's up for most affordable 359,000, most expensive 919,000. Their cost per square foot is $291. The Grand 92, so they're up 11. 299,000. That's a townhome or a condo, excuse me. And their high is still 1,100,000. Their cost per square foot $277.
Okay.
Westbrook Village 27. They're up 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Grew a little bit there.
They sure did. 305,000, the most affordable. 685,000, the most expensive. Their cost per square foot $279. Sun City.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to derail you just a moment. We get notifications in our email every morning saying, "Hey, this is new, listing wise." If you would like those listings and those emails, let us know.
Nice plug. All right, very close to home here, Sun City West. We've added 10. We're at 116 homes available. 199,950 is the most affordable. 795,000 is the most expensive. That's a cost per square foot of $236.
Okay.
Sun City West Golf remains at 14. So golf course lots. 325,000, the most affordable. 795,000, the most expensive, and the cost per square foot $246. So about $10 more a square foot for the above average. Yeah, if you get a golf course.
Yeah.
One way of looking at it. Sun City West with a pool, there's only 8. You just don't see very many.
No.
379,000, the most affordable. 599, the most expensive, and that cost per square foot is up another $10. They're at $256. Okay, Sun City West sold the last 30 days, remains at 68. The average sale price $234 a square foot.
Okay.
Percent of list price actually tightened up a little bit. 99.
Ooh, 99% of list price.
The lowest was 88%, and the over list price high was 104%.
When were those? Over the last 30 days?
Over the last 30 days.
Okay. Okay.
And finally, the Sun City West active Average home price is $426,503. The cost per square foot, $236.
Seems like that went up a little bit from the last time we reported as well.
Possibly. I didn't jot it down, so I don't know.
That's okay.
Okay, that's our report for this session. We will see you again in a couple of weeks. Everybody have a blessed rest of this week, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. See you then.
Looks good.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Ow.
Oh, girl, what's the matter?
That's my bad knee. I hit it on the,
Oh,
table.
I'm sorry.
Ow.
I hope you feel better.
Ow.
Can you continue?
In a moment, yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
You said in a minute.
I know. I was trying to speed the moment along. Okay.
Openings providing Jolt, last week's job openings and labor turnover survey. Jolts. I'm suspicious when I see that. I always think there's something fiddling with the numbers, the calculation. They've made a change or something in how they're doing the calculation.
They have in the past, and that's why we're
Not the first
suspicious.
time.
We're
Yeah.
jaded.
We're jaded a
Yes.
little bit. Yeah.
Jaded by the jolt.
Jaded by the jolt, that's right.